searching the internet, looking to network and hitting the pavement. We've done the work to help you get ready for your next job. We've got the experts and the latest tips, and we got you. This is Job Hunt New Mexico. Welcome once again to Job Hunt New Mexico. I'm your host, George Blaise. For the next half hour, we'll talk about a lot of issues, thoughts, and ideas related to not only finding and landing new economic opportunity, but also expanding and finding satisfaction in your current career or business pursuits. And rejoining us here today is someone we haven't talked to in about a year, but it's always a pleasure to have back here. Her expertise, her knowledge, her wisdom, and her leadership. Danielle Casey, President and CEO of the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance. Danielle, so great to see you again.
It's great to be here, and mind as a year fly by, George.
It's as we were setting up here, you mentioned that it's been about a year. I'm like, wow, okay, if you say so. But that just means we're busy, and that's the good news. Is that there's so much activity, so much going on. A lot has happened since the last time I spoke to you. Clearly, I guess let's first of all give us an overview of what area is and what the organization's all about.
Thanks for asking, George. So the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance is a lot of what it sounds like, but what's really exciting is that the regional alliance part has continued to solidify and continue to grow over the past year. So our work is focused on being, if you will, the business attraction and marketing arm of the region. But you can't just accomplish all of those things with brochures and flyers and telling folks and companies outside of the market that they should look at Greater Albuquerque and they should think about being in here. A huge part of what we do in the book of work behind achieving those things is spending a lot of time tackling the things that may keep us from being economically successful. And we do that through a regional lens, as we've talked about, by bringing government and business together. So I'm very excited. Last year when we spoke, I believe we had partners with Sandoval County, Bernalillo County, Village of Las Lunas, Rio Communities, and Edgewood. We have now formally, while they've always been a partner, there's a more formal relationship with the city of Albuquerque as well as a leading partner. But we also have more recently engaged with additional communities like the city of Belen and all of Torrance County. So when we think about regionalism and the need to all row together for our economy, this is truly happening for the first time at this level in our 65-year history. And yes, it's area's 65th year.
Well, Danielle, clearly, since the last time I spoke to you, we've had an election here, we've had a change of administration, a new system, a new way of looking at things. Things are moving so fast, there's no need to kind of highlight any of the points because tomorrow it may change altogether. But the main thing I think we need to hang on to and really understand, particularly in our discussion and your expertise, is that new opportunities come around every once in a while, and we have to seize everything that's happening as opportunity, not only here in Albuquerque, but with our regional partners and across the area. Talk to me a little bit about big picture, new opportunities for growth and expansion. This is an exciting time, not just a time to be frustrated.
It is, carpe diem, right? We definitely have to seize the day. As an economic developer, we often talk about the fact that, if economic developers were entrepreneurs or if we actually created jobs ourselves, we would be in a different line of business. Really, what we do is react to economic conditions, react to political environments or things that are affecting those opportunities. So you have it absolutely right. I have the really distinct honor and privilege of serving as the vice chair for the International Economic Development Council. And that is a conglomeration of economic developers nationally, but also globally. And we have been as an entity working very hard since the beginning of the year to raise the profile and the importance of the profession, and also to serve as an educator and a tracker of what's happening in the economy so that we can help professionals across the board in rural and urban communities of all walks of life across the country and elsewhere have some information so they can make their best informed decisions. When we're talking locally in Greater Albuquerque, there are some very cool things going on. As you know, we had our 60-day legislative session, which everyone in New Mexico swirls around. It seems like everything stops except for the session, which is extremely intense. We had some really wonderful, wonderful outcomes for economic development this year. I think some bills that were passed with tremendous and exciting bipartisan support that has created some of the newest or new economic development tools for the first time in probably a decade or more. And the first that we worked very hard on as an educator. AREA is not a lobbying organization. We are a public charity that operates and exists in order to diversify the economy, relieve the burden of government, and reduce poverty. That is our goal, and doing that through economic growth. And the number one obstacle that we have seen is a lack of what we call site readiness. A location, whether it being an existing built property or a piece of dirt that has the infrastructure and all of the pre-planning and all of the work done, to where if a company comes in and says, I like that location, I would like to be in your community, I need to be up and running, 5 quarters from now, can you do it? And I would say in most circumstances, unfortunately, the answer has been a no for new development in new sites or when they need new builds. And our site readiness bill is going to change that. What it allows for, we've received, or the Economic Development Department at the state has received funding through appropriations. And also, this bill sets forth a path for them to use those funds to do two things. The first phase is called site characterization, and then the second is pre-development. And the great part is this can be applicable not just to publicly owned property, but to privately owned property as well through appropriate agreements. The site characterization phase means we need to understand what a location or a piece of dirt's highest and best use is. Should it be industrial? Is it a great place for manufacturing, or maybe for warehousing and logistics, or maybe for office or research and development? And that's really important from a cost and development basis, as well as what the community wants. But you need to know that before you can determine
Danielle,
cost.
I think it's really vital and important
Yes.
what you're discussing here, because even if we're talking about individuals who are looking for jobs, from the small to the micro to the macro of looking what's going on regionally, statewide, and nationally, one of the things we have to do periodically is an audit. We have to look at what do we have, what are our assets, what are our liabilities, and how can we maneuver things to make sure we have more in the asset column. And I think that this speaks to it, is creating these opportunities for everyone to look at what do you have. Look at what you have as far as your property. Look at deed lines. Look at everything from the micro. What is it that's going to be most attractive to development?
Absolutely. So that characterization is critical. Once you know what those costs and that development plan is, then you can start pre-developing, which means you might need an environmental assessment. You might need to get power or utilities to that site, and those things take time and money. So the more we can build those assets up, just as you said, is going to be critical in order to locate and get companies up and running quickly. There's another sister bill to that that's interesting as well.
It's fantastic news, and I'm glad that you're spearheading making sure all of these things are available and these resources are out there, and that businesses, entrepreneurs, and people looking for employment are really aware that there is activity and there are positive signs going on here. Before we get out of this segment, one of the things also that you recently premiered was this great kind of documentary, The Evolution and Future Path of Greater Albuquerque's Economy. Very personal, very intimate look at some of the players and ideas and things that really highlight what's happening here.
We are very excited about this documentary. I call it playfully positive propaganda, and it's great education. Now we know everybody's time for sound bites is not that long, so it's a 15-minute documentary, but it does really talk about the great and beautiful history and evolution of our economy, how we got here. But it's also a bit of a call to action on how we need to stay steadfast in the things that are going to be critical to have the jobs and the investment into the future so that our kids stay here and contribute to the next 65 years.
Absolutely, Danielle. I want to get into talking a little bit about supporting efforts to create a downtown business district and improve that, as well as the Economic Development Professional Advisory Council, a very important sector and group of people working really hard. But first, let's take a look at some job hunting tips. Rejoining our conversation with Danielle Casey, President and CEO of the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance. Danielle, the Downtown Business District, you've put a lot of focus and energy into making sure that improvements are happening, improvements are planned, and then making sure that the bidding process is out there and is vigorous. Talk to me a little bit about downtown development.
Well, the downtown core of any community, your urban core, is the lifeblood. And it's something that we determined several years ago in conversations, especially with technology companies that are thinking about recruiting and bringing in knowledge workers into the community. We had a bit of a focus group and they said, downtown needs to be cool. And it was interesting. Their first phrase was cool, not necessarily, a comment on maybe, safety or cleanliness, but coolness from that cool factor. Whenever we bring in clients or businesses looking in the market, they always ask to drive through downtown or what's going on there. So this became something really important and really personal and is not generally the role or something that a regional economic development group jumps into as a collaborator and convener. But we also feel as area that where there is a need and where there's an ask for our help, if we through serious discussion determine that it will affect the entire region's economy, we'll jump in as needed. So it's been I'd say 2 years or more since we started just having discussions on what a business improvement district does, why it would be needed, what the benefit would be. But it's really taken off since, oh goodness, about a year ago when a couple of key downtown property owners learned about this and decided to really make it their goal and their initiative, which is what it takes. While we're a nonprofit and a convener and a supporter, it's really got to be those that own the property, that live and work it every day, that are spearheading this type of effort.
Well, Daniel, one of the things that, I guess I'll ask you, might be challenging, particularly if you're talking about businesses, entrepreneurs who are not familiar with the area, who've never been in New Mexico or in Albuquerque. There are times of year where downtown Albuquerque midday looks abandoned, but it's an environmental thing. A lot of people are not out in the midday sun. Do you ever find it kind of tricky to kind of explain to people? It's like, it's not that there isn't activity going on. Sometimes just being out on the street just because of the climate isn't what you see. The activity is going on inside.
Absolutely, it's definitely the case, and so we love to take them and show them the really amazing things happening. And there's some great music that happens downtown. There's wonderful restaurants. There's a lot of great employers, but I think the piece to that is, as you alluded to, an active downtown is a safer downtown by virtue of activity. You want to see things happening. You want to see people out, and you want to see that vibe. So one of the really exciting things that has happened in the last few months, just this spring in February, is the city of Albuquerque and the University of New Mexico have signed a memorandum of understanding for exploring what a major university investment could be through partnership between city resources and the university to bring students downtown, create that activation, and really drive forth even larger outcomes through our higher education system. This is really exciting, really inspiring, and I believe could be and should be and will be the absolute cornerstone of a major positive change in our urban core.
And Danielle, that serves, so many purposes, just like you spoke to earlier about making sure we don't get brain drain, we don't lose young people and young, fresh minds, that they want to stay here, make this their home and their center, and stay here even after they finish school. Let's talk a little bit about, what's really exciting, the sectors that are really growing regionally as well as statewide. I understand the aerospace sector is one of those areas that's really exciting, and there's a lot of things happening.
It is super exciting. Well, and as you alluded to before in our first segment, a really important thing to remember is as economic developers, we're also watching national trends. Things could happen that could very quickly change the types of industries that are going to be growing, that are going to be invested in. Um, in addition to aerospace, there are amazing things happening with quantum technology, and we have a partnership with Colorado to be the first quantum hub. I can't even truly comprehend what that means, but we are going all in, and we have competencies in New Mexico unlike anywhere else. Something that folks may not know about our market and our state from an aerospace and defense standpoint is that our 2023 contributions to GDP through that industry are 3.8 billion. We've got more than 20,000 folks employed directly in industries related to aerospace and development, and there's 22% job growth from 2018 to 2023 in aerospace and defense. And if we're all paying attention to national trends and things that the administration is putting into high focus, I do believe that you're going to see a lot more investment in that. And here's the cool thing: these are some of the things that New Mexico is unbelievably and uniquely good at. So when you think about the assets that we have at, say, Spaceport America, sometimes these are very long range. The state made investments to get that going many, many years ago. And now I think we're at a very critical and opportunistic time for us to take advantage of the assets that we have built. Right here at Kirtland, we are the Space Vehicles Directorate, the Directed Energy Directorate, and we have the Spaceport America asset just down the road. So this is really amazing because as we see more companies coming into the state and the market, they may be looking to build a research and development facility or a manufacturing facility, which would mean they're probably going to need to locate in Greater Albuquerque because of the concentration of talent and population centers. But they may very well also be highly likely to be a company that would want to be doing launches as well and have relationships with Spaceport America, and that would make a decision for our state and location because of those dual assets and access to top leadership in New Mexico. So we're very bullish on aerospace and defense.
Absolutely. And of course, the world has been reminded since the last time I talked to you about the legacy and the history of New Mexico in terms of technology and science. Oppenheimer was the huge buzz for the last Oscar run. All of that story right here in New Mexico. So we can either talk about technology or even the film industry in Hollywood, creating opportunities for New Mexico to be a hub of brand new things to come.
Isn't it funny how the history of our economy also connected to Hollywood? And I would say that you could pretty much guarantee that Oppenheimer is mentioned in our short documentary as well. It'd be hard to talk about the history of New Mexico without giving some homage to that critical innovation.
You have to. Talk to me a little bit about the Talent Insights Advisory Council. What's that all about?
This is a really intentionally named advisory to area, and I think very innovative, and I'm extremely excited to see what it's going to produce in terms of a book of work for us going forward. So it's called the Talent Insights Advisory because we wanted to be clear that this isn't a duplication of a workforce advisory board. We have great organizations and collaborations of groups thinking about workforce, thinking about skill sets, understanding what's happening in that scene. We're really thinking about using data and using shared data, the research and resources and tools that area has as an economic development agency, and then the very unique data sets and insights that groups like Central New Mexico Community College, University of New Mexico Tech, and others who will be involved in this over time all have to their student populations, to their outcomes, taking all of that data together and using it to better understand the outcomes we're producing, but also parlay that with the economic outcomes we want to see in our state, region, market, long term, and really understand, are the outcomes we're producing lending themselves to success in those industries? Or is this data that can really inform what we do long term? What programs are we creating? How much do we need to grow the student body population and outcomes? Is the training that's being provided truly adequate in delivering on business needs every day? How do we better partner? So it's really an area of discovery, and it was born initially through an MOU between area and Central New Mexico Community College for data sharing. So we're still getting started on this. But as you can imagine, even one of the exercises that we're doing now is listing out all of the questions and things that we would love to answer through data, and then figuring out how to work through those problems together.
Really, really taking a microscope and looking down to brass tacks and figuring out what the assets are, like we talked about earlier, and how we can better develop and expand and maximize the potential. For people who are looking for work or looking for opportunities, are there any networking events or things that people can attend, or other types of career building opportunities?
We love those things. Obviously, so many of our partners are doing this work. So I would say, when it's a partner organization, we love to amplify that through our newsletters, events, and program newsletters that we push out. One of the exciting events that we will have coming up in mid-June is, and then this resource will be available for everybody out there in the future. In June, we're actually going to unveil our 2025 edition of our talent profile report, which we do in partnership with CBRE. This is an extensive report that highlights all of the positive things happening in our community from a talent perspective. It's got everything from information on hot housing markets to really recent scores and demographics and things about all of our schools that are going on. A lot of our employers use this brochure as a marketing piece for when they are trying to attract or recruit talent to the region. But another thing that we are continuing to add to and ramp up is our live.abq.org website, which is designed for anyone either here or outside of the market that's thinking about what's going on in industry. I want to live here and work here. Where are those resources? Everything from, where you get information on how to hook up your utility bills, to our free online jobs board that's online there, and even a cost of living calculator. So there's a lot of information there on that website that they can get on board on. And we're going to be launching a new newsletter soon where they can subscribe to updates about really kind of hot and cool job opportunities that are being posted.
Danielle, you're a testament to exactly everything that we're talking about here. Your talent, your ability, your vigor, your passion for the work you do and creating opportunities for not only businesses, for individuals. I mean, you are the poster person for everything that's going on here. What is it that, made you leave Sacramento in the rearview mirror and come land here in Albuquerque and help out what's going here? What is it that you could pitch to people saying, hey, if you're looking at a place where there's opportunity in the future, Albuquerque is the place?
Well, people may not, I have an anthropology degree, so I studied people, places, art, and culture at Arizona State. I love the Southwest, and the high desert has such amazing, rich, and beautiful culture, an unbelievable natural environment. But what's even more incredible is, I think, the opportunity that we have here for all of the reasons that we've talked about today. I think this is, Greater Albuquerque is poised to be the it girl, so to speak. And so I would encourage people, get in early, be part of this, and drive forward a really amazing community for the future.
Well, Danielle, it's always fantastic talking to you. For people who want more information about everything you've highlighted today, where should they go?
abq.org.
abq.org. Easy to remember, easy to find. Danielle, please stay in touch. I look forward to talking to you in the next couple of months and just talk more about the great opportunities that are going on right here in regional Albuquerque.
Thank you for this great opportunity.
Well, whether you're looking for new career opportunities or looking to expand what you're already doing, or you're a small business or entrepreneur looking for someplace to really set roots and have a lot of opportunities to have success, Albuquerque and the greater region is happening. It is hip and it's going on in area, and all the work Danielle and her team are doing are a testament to that. Thanks for watching this week. We'll see you next week right here on Job Hunt New Mexico.